If you want to live the life of your dreams, you have to take command of your thoughts, your feelings, and your actions. In order to do that, you need to know how to, what I call, do the work. What is the work? The work is the deep emotional work. I've said it before, and I will say it again. If there is nothing else you get from me, it is to understand how to go deep within yourself and to reclaim your own sovereignty by taking control and command of your thoughts, your feelings, and your actions. This takes responsibility. This takes discipline. This takes integrity. It requires that you go deep within yourself. And it is not always easy, but it is simple. In today's podcast, I walk you through the process of what I call doing the work. When you have a framework for understanding how to reclaim yourself, how to reclaim your psyche, then you will have command. That is when you are in control. That is when you are in your power, when you can live free. The idea of being the unbreakable man is not necessarily that you can be broken or can't be broken, rather, because you can be, but it's understanding how to use that brokenness to rebuild yourself, to be the man you know you can be. It is through the cracks that your light will shine. And when you understand this, you use your power within to become a better version of yourself, not because you are resilient, but because you are mobile, you are malleable, and you are adaptable. So I hope you find this podcast to be insightful, valuable, and of course, if it is, please share. Please consider sharing this with somebody that could benefit from this process, that could benefit, whether it be male or female. Of course, we are working with men, but these processes are not only applicable to men. We do work with men because I understand the struggles and the pressures that men live with, and I understand what it means to be a man in modern society and to have the words toxic masculinity thrown around as if it is sort of like a waste, as if all of the work we've done as men over the years is unrecognized and we feel unseen. And I recognize that for you as a man. You as the individual who's going through life feeling like you are unrecognized, just know that I see you, I know you, I understand what you are going through. It is for this reason I have programs specifically for men. We have, in fact, an upcoming 3-day event coming up in July. We have a few spots left for that. So if you feel called into changing your life, into being seen, into being known as who you want to be, then come to that 3-day live event. This event will break you down to the core of your being. It will help you see the things that you have not seen before. It will help you uncover all of the reasons and the bullshit stories you tell yourself that stop you from living your dreams. If you want to be an actor, for instance, maybe you have a voice in your head that says you're not worthy of that. If you want to be an author, if you want to start a business, if you want to change a business or change careers, do something that you haven't done before, this event will help you overcome and override, break through all of those stories you tell yourself and to reclaim who you are as a man. Again, it's a 3-day deep dive process. It will be worth every single penny you invest into it. After 3 days, you will walk away as the man you want to be and lead the life you love. If you feel called to apply for this event, we will have to get on the phone so we can understand what you're going through and make sure that this event is right for you. So click the link in the description. And as always, enjoy today's episode. What is up, beautiful humans? This is Dr. Dave Cahotis. I am on a mission to forge strong, heart-centered, and purpose-driven men. And this podcast is here to help you stop managing your problems and start breaking free of stress, limiting beliefs, and excuses that stop you from executing at your fullest potential, living with passion, and being the man you want to be. Let's go. If you've been following me for any period of time, you know that I am the most interested in you being a healthy human. And what that requires is that you do the deep emotional work, taking responsibility for all of the reactions and the traumas and the mishaps that have happened in your life, and doing the deep work to reclaim that which you truly are. And that which you truly are is already whole and complete. The irony of being an unbreakable man is identifying and rectifying the fact that you are already the man you want to be. It's just all of the layers of self-sabotage and procrastination and shadow and pain and grief and shame that are in the way of you expressing your authentic self. In today's session, you and I are going to sit down and we are going to talk about doing the work. This is by far, if there's any one thing I want you to get from me in all of the interactions that we have, I want you to know how to do the work. And when I say the work, I mean the deep emotional work so that you can reclaim who you truly are and show up in the world as the individual you want to be and live the life you love, period. End of story. So I have discovered that over the many years of my life and the traumas that I've incurred and the relationships that I've gone through and the businesses that I've built, it is without a shadow of doubt the emotional work that has always guided me to build something incredible, whether, again, it's a relationship, it's a family, it's a home, it's a business, that I needed the emotional work first before I could build upon that. If I ever built anything from a feeling of lack or from a feeling of, well, I'm not good enough, or I need to have this external validation from my wife to know that I'm loved, if I built from that place, it would always come back and show me more of that. And so the more emotional work that I've done to reclaim my true self and to feel whole, to feel seen, to feel loved, and to wade through all the shadow work and all the pain and all the hurt, all the gunk that has stopped me. When I do that work and I heal from that and I become whole, then I can build from that place of wholeness. And so what I'm going to show you today is how to, what I call, do the work. It's literally going deep within yourself and being willing to feel and viscerally experience whatever you're having, whatever experience you're having, right? So maybe you're feeling some shame or some guilt or some grief, whatever. In a previous session, we've talked about the virtue of telling the truth, of responsibility. You have to tell the truth, period. That's living in integrity, to be honest. It's, you need to tell the truth. If you're not willing to tell the truth, none of this was going to work. It just won't, because you'll keep bypassing. And when you bypass, you'll bypass in the way of maybe reaching for that bottle of whiskey. You'll pretend like men don't feel feelings, right? You'll pretend like, oh, well, feelings are for other people, or I'm not free to express myself, or it was my father that did this, or it was my mother that did this. You'll just keep blaming and projecting all of your pain onto other people. And then you'll keep running, getting the same results, looking for the same external validation, and always wondering why you're never fulfilled. Why are you never getting the results you're looking for? Why is there never the pot of gold at the end of the rainbow? And I can tell you that the answer is simple. The pot of gold is actually within you. It is the part of you that you just simply need to reclaim. And when I say the word part, right, what does that mean? It's the psychological part. It's the psyche. It's the shadow part, the part of you that you put away. Now, you haven't really noticed, but there's always rhetoric going on in your head. There's always voices, and they have different tones, and there's feelings involved in that, and those have different tones. But what it comes down to is that there is one still small voice within you that is always present, and that is the voice of, we'll call it the inner commander, the part of you that is always present, the part of you that is connected to something higher than yourself. That is we'll call it the higher self, whatever word works best for you. I call it your soul. It is just you talking to you. You already know the answers, but are you willing to follow that? Are you willing to follow that voice? That is always the great question, because it's going to guide you through all of the pain that you've been running from in your life. But yet when you go through it and you finally realize you were just looking for yourself, the work is totally worth it. So here's how to do the work. Again, you need to tell the truth. Number one, you need to tell the truth. You need to be honest with yourself, with your experience. If you got into a fight with your wife and you don't know what to do with it or how to deal with it, you just get pissed off and you go, Let's say she denied you sex, right? As an example, like you came on to her, you're like, hey, let's go, like feeling real good, right? But she's like, no, I'm not really feeling it. And you're like, fuck you, right? Like part of you feels like hurt by that, right? Which is, rightfully so. But that doesn't mean that we just push it off. That means that we need to take responsibility for our own experience. And we need to go sit with that shit. So what you need to do is you need to tell the truth, and you need to identify the emotion that is wrapped up in that. Maybe it's grief, maybe it's guilt, maybe it's shame, maybe it's whatever. Just tell the truth of the emotion you're feeling. The way you do that is you get quiet. That's why meditation is so vital. You need to be able to separate emotions from the actual experience. You need to be able to identify emotions, because once you identify them, then you can actually work with them. So what you do is you write down, what are you feeling? Or you can say it out loud. One of those two strategies work. Generally, when we're in a group of guys, or I'm working one-on-one with somebody, I'm going to have them say it out loud. Saying it out loud does help you articulate it. If you're just by yourself, you can absolutely say it out loud, or you can write it down. What you're going to do next is what's called set the container. Setting the container is setting up your space, your physical space, and what I call the energetic space. Meaning you are in a container, or let's say a physical room, that no one will bother you. It could be in your vehicle. It could be in a room. It could be in a park where no one else is going to see you, but a place where you can just totally be free. Totally be free. If you need to yell and yell, you can do that. If you need to scream, kick, cry, smash pillows, whatever you need to do, like it's in a container where you can fully express the energy that's being compressed inside of you and let that pressure off. It's like releasing the valve in the pressure cooker. When that starts to release, it's going to want to come out. Now, why I don't recommend you bringing this into, let's say, a gym space or someplace where you want to like let it out kind of thing, is simply because I want you to stay focused on the feeling that you're about to go into, rather than being in a gym space, which you can definitely get a lot of pent up rage out and all of those. It still distracts the mind. It doesn't allow you to have focused attention on what you're going into. So that's why I recommend a container. Though, if you have a home gym and that's your place, then by all means, go for it. I have used my personal home gym before for this. So you're going to set up the container. Again, this is doing the work. We'll call this setting up your ritual process, whatever you want to call it. So you're going to set up the container, which is your space, a physical space for you to feel safe. The other thing is that the energetic space has to be set. What I mean by the energetic space is that you, as an individual, need to have and give yourself full permission to express. And that means that you feel safe within yourself. So safe space, meaning like no one else will judge your expression and you will not judge your expression. That is vital. That is vital. If you can't do that, if you judge yourself, then you're not going to be able to express. Now, you'll be able to get close, but what happens is you'll just kind of keep going through the same iteration. You might keep going through the same thing over and over and over again. So what you need to be able to do is set up the container, the physical space and the energetic space. The energetic space, again, is simply just the compassionate witness of whatever is about to happen, being a compassionate witness to your own expression. That means giving yourself full allowance, full permission to do whatever you need to do. If you need to kick and scream and cry and act like a little toddler, then be it, right? Like do that. If you need to rage and yell and scream, then do that. If you need to shake and just fucking move, if you need to move your body, if you need to jump up and down, if you need to yell, scream, whatever, you need to give yourself full permission. That is vital to doing the work. Once you set up the container, now you can set your intention. Typically, before I set an intention, I will do 3 grounding breaths. So big grounding breath is breath in through the nose, full exhale, and I'm dropping down into my body. Big breath in, full exhale, dropping down into my body. I do that one more time. Big breath in, full exhale, dropping down into my body, just feeling into my body. From there, I set my clear intention. It is one word that you are looking to create. One word that you are looking to create. What does that mean? It's an energy. I want you to create an energy, be that love, joy, happiness, satisfaction, oneness, abundance, flow, connection, intimacy, whatever that thing you are creating, I want you to speak it out. Now, why this is important is because you are creating a claim. I am here in this now space, right? You did your 3 grounding breaths. You set your intention. What I am creating is, and I want you to say it out loud. What I am creating is, let's just use love as an example. What I am creating is love. And then you'll know where to put your focus. Now, here's the thing, and I've said this before, and you will hear me say this many times. Everything in this reality is relative. I've said this before. Again, I'm going to just reiterate that. Everything in this reality is relative. If you want to experience love, you have to be willing to experience everything that love is not. I'm going to say that again. If you want to experience true essence of love, you have to be willing to experience, accept, and allow all that love is not as a compassionate witness. That means you need to be willing to feel the visceral feelings and accept that abandonment exists within you, that you are abandoned, that you can be abandoned, that you are unlovable, that you can be cheated on, right? Like you can be these things. You are, if you want to be the essence of love, you have to just reckon with the fact that you are unlovable. And it's easy to say, right? It's easy to say through a video or through audio. But in reality, when you get down into it, when you are really there in the moment, it's going to feel like you are dying. It's just going to feel like pure psychological death. Your ego is going to want to run. You're going to want to stop yourself, but you're going to be like, no. But that's where you move forward. That's where you move forward. Now, when you're doing the work, we'll just keep saying it that way, and you're doing the work of doing deep emotional work, you're going to imagine like the thing that you were working on. Again, let's say your wife doesn't want to have sex with you and you feel shame about that. And so your scatter pattern, that your rut that you would go in, you'd typically go and bypass that by beating off with some porn, right? Let's say you used to do that. Well, instead of running and bypassing that emotion, you're going to bring that feeling of shame that you're unwanted. Let's just say you're unwanted. And you're going to be like, all right, I'm going to bring that into my container. I'm going to bring that forward into my work. So you bring that feeling of shame and feeling unwanted into the container. Now you're willing to tell the truth. Here's the thing. You're willing to tell the truth. Then what I want you to do is you set your intention. What I'm creating is love, as an example. How to know which intention to create is typically you get the exact opposite. So if like you're feeling lack or scarcity, you're creating abundance. If you're feeling that, right, you got denied sex from your wife, you're creating connection and love, whatever that thing is. It's usually pretty straightforward. So you're sitting there in your meditative stance. No, I like say meditation. I like to go on the meditation pillow. So you're going to go do your practice. You're going to do the work. What you're going to do next is put into your mind's eye a vision of the visceral feeling in front of you. And now, why this is a little bit nebulous, and it might look like nebulous smoke, is I want you to put the vision of shame or feeling unwanted in front of you. Imagine like it's a ball of smoke, and you're going to just see it in front of you. Like this is oh man, that's the thing I'm afraid to step into. That's the thing I don't want to feel. But here's what you're going to do next. You're going to start doing deep inhales and exhales. This is what's called somatic breathing. So you're going to start moving energy, breathing that energy in, almost like, again, like it's smoke, and you're in your mind's eye, your eyes are closed. Maybe you're in a meditative stance or in a meditative seat, or I've done this standing, but it's a little bit easier when you're sitting in the beginning. So you're going to start breathing that in. You're going to start breathing it in. And And imagine like it's in you, all around you, like it's taking you over. Now, why I want you to do that as opposed to like moving around it, it's because I don't want you to bypass the sensation of feeling unwanted anymore. I want you to imagine like it's a cloak and it's taking you over as you're breathing. Big inhales in, big exhales, big inhales, big exhales. You will continue to breathe. You will continue to do the deep breath into that energy, imagining like it's a cloak, like it's taking you over, and you're going to soften and you're going to surrender deeper. You're going to start letting go, letting it take over. You're going to let it take over, but you're going to step forward. You're going to keep stepping forward, keep stepping forward, keep stepping forward. Energetically, visually, and mentally, you are going to keep stepping forward. Don't hold back. This is important. Don't hold back. In the moment, you will start to feel your body want to do something. Maybe you feel tired. Maybe you feel scared. Maybe you feel, again, like unwanted. It's like your body wants to run from that. Do not run from that feeling. Go forward. Move forward. Move forward. Keep going forward as you are breathing. As you are breathing, you are moving forward into that. Your body's going to want to start to move. You might start shaking. You might start moving. You might literally feel like, oh my God. You might start screaming. Just keep breathing. Keep breathing. Keep breathing. You will keep going until you hit a natural crescendo. Keep going until you hit that natural crescendo. So much energy that you almost like get stuck. Like you get stuck in a scream, you get stuck in a rage, you get stuck in and you just keep letting that move, and you let that energy go. You let it go. You just keep, what it's going to look like is going to be completely abnormal. It will look so beyond weird from the outside. From the inside, you will just simply be a witness to your own experience. You will be a witness to whatever your shame is, whatever you're feeling unwanted. You're just going to be a witness to that. Imagine like there is this beam of light from your heart center just pouring love all over this darkness, whatever you want to call it, this shame, this guilt, this grief, this feeling of unwanted, this feeling of unworthiness. And you're going to let it take you over. You're going to surrender to it. And you're going to realize that you are it. You are it. You've been pushing it away, but you need to be willing to feel those feelings because it's your shit. That is your shit. You've been pushing it away for too long. You're now going to start doing the work to reclaim all of you. And all of you is the darkness and the light. All of you, this is like Luke Skywalker when he finds out that Darth Vader is his father. He realizes that is me. I come from that. Oh my God. Oh my God. And you like kind of have this freak out moment. You feel like it's going to kill you, but it's not. But you have to be willing to psychologically die to it. Surrender into that. And then in that, you become resurrected into a new. You can become anything you want on the back end because the emotional charge of that feeling of being unwanted no longer exists. But you have to be willing to let yourself completely go. That's why setting the container to create safe space is so vital. And the energetic meaning that you are willing to express yourself however you express yourself. As you're breathing, as you're doing the deep visceral inhales and exhales, you will notice that, all right, you're starting to feel some energy. It's like I had a recent guy come through and he said that he started feeling tired. And when he was feeling tired, he wanted to lay down. It's like, yeah, let yourself lay down and be feeble. Be so weak that you feel like you're going to die. And that's just it. Like you're going to feel when you do this work, your ego will think that it's dying. And it is. This ego is, it's like, that's why they call it ego death. You are surrendering this old pattern, this old way of being to a new version of self. And so allow yourself to release, allow yourself to express. And again, that can come out in incredible forms. You might scream, cry. You might wail like you were just completely destroyed or being gutted. I've gone through the gambit. I've moved, I've shaken, I've cried, I've yelled. And when you get to the other side, you now have a new free choice. You no longer are involved in the emotional charge of that thing. You can now make a new rational decision. So instead of running around and reenacting the old ways, the old patterns, you now have free will choice and you have freedom to choose. And that's what you'll do on the closing of this. When you have free will choice, you're free. You no longer are subject to the power of the energy itself, of your own internal pattern, your own internal darkness. The reason you ran and would do certain patterns is because you were so afraid of being unloved that you would work your ass off for days on end just to bring home a paycheck, just to know that you're loved. And then you would get evidence that you're not loved, and then you would freak out. And that happens. That is real. I know that happened to me. I was externally looking for my wife to love me when in reality, I needed to love myself. And I had to do the deep work and find that within myself. So you are going to experience the same thing. But then as soon as you do, boom, you become whole. A part of you that was once separate, the part of you that felt so afraid, you were pushing off, that you were literally creating the sensations and the evidence to not be loved, even though you were working your ass off and you're like, why is nobody loving me? Because deep down, you were so afraid of being unloved that you had to be unloved. That's the evidence. That's the way it works itself. But then when you're whole, it's like, oh, whatever. I don't care if I'm unloved. And then all of a sudden, people just start pouring love on you because you don't give a fuck. That's the subtle art of this, right? There's even a book called that. It's the fun part. You just allow yourself to, oh yeah, whatever happens, happens. You know, I get to love now. I get to express love. Then you get to do that however you want. So when you close the ceremony, the ritual, right? I call this a ceremony or I call it a ritual because it is. It's like you're going into ritual. You're going into fucking reclaim a part of yourself and be there. It's very difficult at times too when you're like in the deep work. It's very difficult, but it is by far the number one thing I want you to know. As you're doing life, know how to do the deep work. So in closing of the ceremony, now you get to have free will choice. Now you get to have freedom of how you express yourself. And that is vital. That is actually a vital component because if you don't do anything different, nothing will change. So every time you go and do this work, make a new conscious decision of how you will express. How will you express yourself? If it's your wife, how will you express love and admiration through your wife or for your wife? Because maybe she wasn't feeling loved and she was viscerally feeling your vibration that you were putting off, making sure that you were not loved. That's how you were playing a role in her world. So now you get to have a free will choice of what you are going to do and how you're going to show up and express love. And when you express love in an open way, you will be amazed at how it comes right back. Because you're not afraid that love is finite. You're not afraid that love is this transactional thing. You realize that you are the beacon of love. And that's how this works. So in the closing of the ceremony, you are going to then create a new action. That is what integration is. So you will set a new action, a new way of being. How are you going to do it? I want you to physically write it down too. Because when you write it down, it also comes with a new affirmation, a new statement in your mind. There's always going to be a new statement of what you can tell yourself. Whereas like before you were feeling unloved, unwanted, and now you're like, oh, I'm free to love. I am love. And maybe that's your new affirmation. I am love. And then you just speak that into existence in the setting the vibe. When we get to that part of the of this program, then you can set the vibe and you can claim that you are love and you become the beacon of that. And then, man, that's the good stuff. That is the good stuff. So there's a lot more to go, but that is how you're going to show up. Now, of course, as you're doing work, as you're living life, things are going to come up. You're going to get triggered naturally, but then you bring that trigger into your work. This is the work. What is the work? It's the deep work. It's the inner work. There's outer work, like you got to pay the bills and you got to make the sales calls and you got to write the things. But the inner work is setting up the foundation that is rock solid, that will never crumble energetically. And then you come from that place and you will manifest everything your heart has ever desired. And that's the good stuff. So carry that with you. If you ever have questions, always reach out. And as always, stay unbreakable. Thanks for listening to this episode of the Unbreakable Man podcast. If you found this episode valuable, then go ahead and leave a 5-star review explaining how this podcast has helped you so more people can find it. If you want to be a part of the Brotherhood, then click the link in the description below. You can also check out the Unbreakable Man experience if you're ready to face a deeper challenge and change your life for the better in just 3 days. All right, guys. Thanks again for listening. I appreciate you. And as always, stay unbreakable.